This is Living Education eFocus News Special Edition Health with host Dr. Michael Robinson. Dr. Robinson will be talking to Melinda English as she shares her very personal cancer journey.
Mike, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to share my story with you. So thank you for having me.
No, it's my honor to be in your presence, Queen, and congratulations on your victory. And I look forward to hearing how that journey went, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. So before we get into all of that, let's start with a real easy question, Melinda. Can you share a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. I'm a retired Navy chief. Right now I'm a real estate professional, married with 2 sons. I'm a fitness trainer. I have a nonprofit organization called Kicks for Kids. We give out brand new shoes to underprivileged children in our community. I'm a vegan. I'm a big advocate of breast cancer awareness. I'm a big advocate of eating to live and not living to eat. I can go on and on, but that's just a little bit about me, who I am.
Right. Well, we have a little bit of your background. It was pretty good on our website. So when people tune in and they hear this interview, they can read your bio. And at the end of the interview, you're going to give them information about your organization, how they can reach out to you. So we don't think it's going to be the end of people finding out a lot about Melinda English. Melinda, what type of breast cancer, what was your breast cancer diagnosis? And how did you learn about your cancer?
Well, first of all, I learned about it. I've always done monthly examinations, and that is the key. Self-examinations will save your life, save mine. So I had noticed that I was feeling different. I was really tired, and at the time I was serving in the Navy. And that also I would work out pretty much 5 times a week. I was eating pretty decent. But I was like, why am I feeling so bad? So I did a self-examination, and I noticed a lump that felt like a marble. And I was like, that doesn't feel right. So automatically my intuition was like, go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and at first my primary care physician at the time I was in the Navy, she stated that, you don't have anything to worry about. Black women have lump breast. So that I was like, ma'am, I said, I don't feel good. I'm really, really tired. And this thing feels like a marble. It doesn't feel like a lump, like a monthly lump, like that lump before your cycle comes on. I say, it does not feel like that. So I argued with this doctor for about a good 10 to 15 minutes before she would give me a referral to go out to get a biopsy. So I won the race, I got my biopsy, and that determined that I had stage 1 breast cancer. So when I actually did the mastectomy, it revealed that I had HER2 positive breast cancer, and I was in stage 2. So I'm so glad that I advocated for my own health, because if I would not have, I would not be sitting here talking to you today if I would have listened to that doctor. So that's how that was my diagnosis. I opted for a double mastectomy. At the time, my husband and I, we weren't together. We were divorced. So it was myself and my 2 children. But as soon as I found out that I had breast cancer, I called him, and he was right there for me, just like we were married. But I had HER2 positive cancer, and it just went from there. So I had about 16 rounds of chemo. I had a double mastectomy. I also had a hysterectomy, and it was a lot. It was a lot. You know, my treatment was very, very aggressive. And it left me from the bed to the couch for a very long time, very depressed. But I beat it, though. So I'm going to kind of stop because I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I know that I will. But yeah, that's how it started.
Well, Melinda, you have the absolute freedom to get ahead of yourself because you are right. This is absolutely blessed that you are here to share this. Because one of the nuggets that just came from what you described was the fact that self-examination. The other nugget I took away from that is that self-advocacy. And I think in many cases, because even as I go to my doctor, sometimes I take what he says and say, okay, and then I go to my wife and say, you should have told him something. You should have told him how you really felt. So I call back and say, I'm going to come back and see you, doc. So it is hard to self-advocate and I think for me, it's maybe out of fear of what the results could be.
Right.
And the fact that, I'm trusting a professional. Why would you not know?
Right.
So you mentioned that you were not with your husband at the time. It was just you and the boys.
Right.
Describe your process as you prepared to tell everyone who cared about you and still cared about you about your diagnosis.
Well, I wish I could say that, my family wrapped their arms around me and took care of me, but that wasn't the truth. My mom and a couple of my sisters, they wrapped their arms around me and they were there for me, but there were a couple siblings that felt like, oh, she ain't nothing wrong with her. She just trying to get attention. And, I'm like, who wants attention with breast cancer? And family is funny. Family is funny, and you really learn who loves you, who's there for you. And at the time also, I was in North Carolina, and my family is in Georgia. I really didn't have a lot of family. I didn't have any family at all in North Carolina. But my mom came there. A couple of my sisters came to check up on me. But I really say that my Navy family really wrapped their arms around me. I give you a fine example. One of my good friends, Jay Scott, he was in the Navy at the time. He's retired now. He came down. I think I live in Winston-Salem, and he lived in Raleigh. He would come to every chemotherapy. He would drive down from Raleigh to Winston-Salem, and he would take me to chemo. That was after my mom had left. So my Navy family really, really wrapped their arms around me. My good friend, Tamisha, they were there for me. So I really can't say that even though I was single, but I had support. I wish I would have had more support from my family, but I'm going to say that because I lived in North Carolina and they lived in Georgia, that's why I didn't get as much. But I know that some family members would talk to trash, and, I'm very, very authentic. I'm very transparent. I don't hide anything, because that's just the way God made me, and I wouldn't be living my truth and speaking my truth if I didn't tell you the truth. So, but my Navy family, my mom and a few of my sisters, they wrapped their arms around me and they really took care of me. So, I had a really good support system during that time.
That's great. And from everything I've read, and just from my own experience with my wife and things I've read about cancer treatment, and one of the biggest things to help people get over cancer during the treatment is the support from family and friends and loved ones. So, while you may not have a huge circle, you had a very supportive and loving circle, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult, though, Melinda, I really want to go back to that. How difficult was it to sit down with your sons? Because we're talking mortality here, and for young people, they don't see mortality the way we do. So, how was it, and what kind of responses you got from them?
When the doctor told me, hey, you have cancer, I cried for like maybe 15 seconds, and then I was like, okay, all right, what are we gonna do? What's the plan, doc? And he was like, well, you need to go home and tell your family. And I was like, oh God. So at the time, I didn't have a problem telling my mom or my dad or my sisters, but the thing was with my sons. And my youngest son at the time, he was like, Mama, you're going to make it. You're strong. You can fight this. You can beat this. And when he told me that, he inspired me to even fight even more. And I tell him that to this day, like, you really, the times that I needed to push, he gave me that push with just a simple, oh, Mom, you got this. You know, you're going to beat it. You're strong. And that's like what I needed. So my oldest son kind of, you know, he kind of withdrew away from me because he was preparing him. He thought that I was going to pass away. So he was like, I'm going to prepare myself for my mom to pass. So he started like pushing away from me. And I didn't learn that until later on, to when he got a little older. But that youngest one, like he was right there, foot of the bed every day. Come home from school, he was there. And I mean, I like I said, I had a pretty good support system. But that was the hardest part, telling my sons. Everybody else, I'm like, y'all are adults, you know, they'll get over it. But my sons, I was like, yeah. I even went, even at the time, my husband now, it's crazy, we got remarried, but I told him, I was like, here is the insurance policy. I never changed my insurance policy. I was telling him all of that. I said, just in case I don't make it, here's everything, you know, take care of the boys. Make sure you take care of my mom if I don't make it. That was my conversation with him. And he wasn't my husband at the time. We, like I said, we had gotten divorced. But as soon as I called him and told him what I was going through, he was there. He was there. When I had my mastectomy, he was there. I mean, every bit of the way, he was there for me. So I can't say that I really had a really good, strong support system. So
sounds like love to me.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And you tell the oldest boy, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna be here when you bring that girl home.
I know, right? Exactly.
I'm gonna be right in the living room when you bring that young lady home. I'll let you know if I like her or not. So yeah, and your son obviously must feel very happy and blessed that Mom is still here, looking great, doing great. You know, making people aware of what this battle is.
Yeah.
I didn't do this in the pre-conversation we had or in some of the information I sent you in advance, but you mentioned something about the chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with the audience what does chemotherapy feel like? How does it change you, and how sick are you, and what did it change about you having that kind of treatment?
First of all, the remnants, the side effects of chemotherapy, even though it will be 10 years in December, I still have them. I still, I'm full menopause. My left foot, I have neuropathy. I have chronic pain sometimes, and that's why I changed what I eat. Like that was the key of me becoming a vegan. Because I was like, okay, what can I do to eliminate a lot of this pain? So when I started changing what I ate and making sure I got more sun and drinking more water and getting more sleep, not stressing as much, that's when a lot of the side effects from the chemo went away. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's like really my breast cancer journey is like a blur almost. I really don't remember a lot of it. And even the doctors say you're not going to remember a lot from your breast cancer journey, and I really don't. And I don't know if it's just designed that way, but it was tough. It was tough because I went from running 2.5 miles, lifting weights, to like in the bed, barely can wash myself. The chemotherapy, the Red Devil, that's what they call it. That's the slang name for me. I can't remember the real name, but that was just sucked all of the life out of you. I was just so tired, just to the point. There were times like I would tell my friends, I'm not going to chemotherapy. I think I was like around maybe the very last 2 or 3 chemotherapies, and I was like, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this anymore. And my friends was like, oh, yes, you are. Like, you almost done. I'm like, y'all don't know what this is doing to my body. It's killing me. And it was. I couldn't sleep. I was constipated. I was just constantly depressed and bad mood. It was awful. And I understand why people don't want to go through chemotherapy because you just feel like you are just lifeless. And that's how I felt. I felt like, I'm like, God, why is this happening to me? You know, like, goodness, what did I do? But, you know, I pressed on and I rang that bell. I think it was December the 1st, the 3rd, I can't remember. But I rang that bell, and here I am today talking to you.
Well, one of the things, and it's certainly something we'll talk about down the line before we end tonight. I want to talk to you about that portion of the journey, the chemotherapy, and how it impacted your body, and how it impacted the intimacy between you and your husband. And so and this is an adult conversation, you know. So, but I think it's important because there are families and couples who unfortunately will experience this or are currently experiencing this, and how they balance that, and how, from your perspective, that you and your loved ones balance it. But before we get to that part, you mentioned that it changed you. You mentioned at the beginning of this that it will change you. You won't feel the same. You won't be the same, but you're still here. Talk a little bit more about what some of those changes look like. I mean, obviously, one of the things that I found very exciting and happy for is the fact that you said you changed the way you ate and what you ate, but and how that has probably made an amazing impact on your life. What are some of the things that other ways your cancer journey has changed you?
Oh my God! I tell people that my breast cancer journey was a curse and a blessing, because I feel like, you know, I was stripped of everything. My hair, my breast. My breast was like the best looking thing on my body, in my opinion. So I'm like, oh my God, you know. So there was a time when I didn't feel pretty. There was a time when I felt less of a woman. You know, you have those feelings, and you just have to get in your mind, like, you know what? Okay, so what? I don't have any boobs. They're not cute and perky like they used to be, and I'm mango. I got all these scars, and they're not pretty, but I'm still here. That's what you got to look at. And I just look at it as I'm still here, and I just had to change my mindset. It was a shift in my mindset, like, because it's so easy to sit there and say, oh, why me, and I can't do this, but it's much harder to try and work through your obstacles. It's tough, like, but when I made that mindset shift, like, I'm not going to let this beat me. I am still beautiful. I can still do whatever I want to do. Cancer gave me that boost of confidence that I've been searching for all my life. That's why I said that it was like a blessing and a curse, because when you stripped of everything, you feel like, man, I'm down in the dumps. It ain't nowhere to go but up. So I just feel like, you know, I feel like I got the boost that I needed. Like, God was like, I'm going to take everything from you and I'm going to rebuild you. So that's kind of how I feel. So now, like, I saw that you had the picture of me on Facebook, and that picture, I had bought that outfit, and it was a whole bunch of cleavage, but I remember showing a little cleavage when I had some real boobs and I didn't have all those scars on. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear this, because I know people are going to see these scars. And if you stare at me long enough, I'm just going to say, yes, these scars are from breast cancer. I had a mastectomy. I use these scars now as a conversation piece to save other women, to tell other women, hey, you need to examine your breast monthly. You need, like, I'll give you another example. I was, I'm a realtor by day. So I'm getting ready to put this property on the market, and I had a cleaning crew at my client's house cleaning the home. And the young lady that was cleaning the home, she had her cell phone in her breast. And I said, ma'am, there are so many young girls that are dead because they had that cell phone in their bra. I said, please don't do that. I said, you could Google it yourself. There are many women that have cancer because of putting that cell phone in your bra. Put that cell phone in your pocket or in your purse. It does not belong, in your bra. It does not belong there. And she was like, oh, my God, I did not know. I was like, well, now you know. I just need for you to not do that again. And if you see another woman, you tell her. Now, you might get cussed out because I've had, look, girl, mind your own business. Girl, you are my business. That's why I'm telling you to take that bra, take that phone out of your bra. And I'll just come back at them like that. So, but yeah, I think I'm kind of getting a little long-winded, but I just wanted to give you a little example about, and then another thing about chemotherapy, you lose your train of thought real quick. The memory loss, we don't talk about that a lot, the memory loss. And I'll give you a fine example. Like, I've had people like, oh, you told me that before. Oh, you told me that before. And especially family members. And my oldest sister, she had breast cancer after me. And she realized, she was like, sis, you right. You do lose your memory. You don't remember a lot of things, and you do repeat yourself. She was like, I owe you an apology. I was like, y'all thought I'm just forgetting just to forget. I'm like, sometimes I do forget. That, don't hold that against me. And now I tell people, I'm like, look, I'm a breast cancer survivor. One of the side effects is memory loss. So if you tell me something and I say, or if I repeat myself, I'm not slow. It's just that I forgot, or I just forgot that I told you already. And,
Melinda,
some people laugh it off.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Some people laugh it off, but I'm like, I'm so serious about that, But even family members now, man, you can't be that forgetful. I'm like, well, I wish I wasn't, but I am. So, but the crazy thing about like the really, really important stuff, I don't really forget about that. But at your birthday, I might forget about that. I might forget that we supposed to meet at the bar and get a drink. I might forget. So I put everything in my phone. I put everything in my phone. I write notes. I have sticky notes everywhere. My notes in my cell phone is full because I just can't remember it. So that's probably like one of the biggest side effects that bothers me is the fact of my memory loss. Like even some of the memories of my childhood, I don't remember. And sometimes you just have to really jog my memory with it. I don't know if it's quite a few women, they have these side effects, but we just don't talk about it. Especially Black women. We just, oh my God, don't get me talking about us. Oof.
Yeah, I mean, this conversation is so multi-layered.
Yeah.
It's really difficult for this conversation to be a 25, 30-minute conversation because it is so multi-layered. I mean, that's another question I can ask you in reference to the journey. And cause one of the things you said, and it threw me back a little bit, was when you talked about your treatment and some of the side effects, you mentioned menopause.
Yeah.
So but I'm just curious, were you of menopausal age before the treatment?
No, I would be 49 my birthday, and
Mm-hmm.
my diagnosis was, I think I was like 38, something like 38, 39. So no, I was nowhere near menopausal. I was like nowhere near menopause, and the doctor told me you may go into menopause, and man, I think that's probably the biggest side effect, along with the memory loss and the menopause, the hot flashes, the night sweats, the mood, the not wanting to be intimate. Like that menopause is something serious, and I talk about that a lot on my platform. Like I make fun of my hot flashes, but I talk about it because women don't talk to men about menopause. Because I remember, it was like a secret or something when I was growing up, and I'm like, this is life. Men need to know that women go through stuff. Sometimes we don't want to be bothered intimately. Sometimes you have hot flashes, night sweats, and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're super wet. You got to get up and change your clothes. Like that right there is probably the biggest thing that really bothers me, just going through menopause. But I've also learned too, I have to control what I put in my mouth. If I drink alcohol, I'm going to have bad night sweats. If I have a lot of sugar, I'm going to sweat. If I have caffeine, I'm going to have a lot of night sweats, a lot of hot flashes. So now I'm learning my body, and I know to fuel my body with what it needs rather than what it wants. So that's really, really big after you go through chemotherapy. I don't know, a lot of women don't go through menopause, but man, oh man, Me? Woo-hoo. It is tough. It is tough. And I used to be so embarrassed. I could be sitting in front of my clients, and the next thing you know, I would just start sweating. And they'd be like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Now I just say, "I'm going through menopause, honey. You're too young to go through menopause." I think so too, but guess what? That's the side effect for chemotherapy. And they'd be like, "Oh, okay." So I just educate people along the way. I'm no longer embarrassed about it. It's just part of my life, and if you don't like it, you just have to get over yourself.
Yeah. And I do think it's a conversation, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. A conversation that men need to hear about menopause. Because even if you haven't battled cancer, and if your wife is blessed to be around long enough to experience menopause, you have to figure out what that means for you as life like it used to be. I tell you, one of the things that gave me a preview of what menopause could look like. The funny side was when my wife was pregnant, and I would wake up freezing because the air conditioner would be on, all the fans would be on, and the window. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? She said, "I'm hot. It's burning up." And then as I read about menopause and she's getting to that point, I realized that. I remember when he was in the store, she said, "Well, why aren't you sweating?" I'm like, "Because it's like 45 degrees up in here." But it's not for her. So while sometimes it might be a way to say it in a funny tone, I can understand why and the changes that could happen and happening for her and other women too. So it is something that as men we need to embrace and understand, because if we're blessed to keep our wives with us that long, that's one of the experiences. And she's still beautiful, y'all still beautiful, and you still remember all the memories. And right now she just needs you to be a little bit more of the backbone than typically. But we'll talk about some of that. But you have some very beautiful pictures on your Facebook page. And I hope people get a chance to visit your page on Facebook. Some very beautiful pictures without hair. With just short hair, and I think I saw one couple with no hair at all. I think really one beautiful picture of you just bald skin. And I want to know, can you talk about your hair loss and how you have now embraced your new crown?
I remember when I got the diagnosis, and I told my cosmetologist at the time, I said, "I just want to go ahead and cut my hair off. I don't want to wake up and a pile of my hair is on my pillow. I don't want to wash my hair and I see my hair going down the drain. I don't want that." So I was like, "Go ahead and shave my head." He was like, "What?" I was like, "Just go ahead and shave it." And that's what we did. He cut my hair, and I also think Kevin, my husband, he shaved it down to a bald, because I think I'm trying to remember. We cut my hair, and then it was starting to grow back, and then when I had the chemo, I could see like the patches. So I was like, "Oh no," that really freaked me out. So he took he got the razor and he shaved it down, and that was that. And I just looked in the mirror and I said, well, I had a few friends. "Oh, you should get some wigs. Get a wig." I had one friend, she bought me like 3 wigs and tried to make me wear them. "You should wear the wigs." I'm like, I don't want to wear them. First of all, they're hot. I never worn a wig. They're hot. I don't like them. And let me just walk in my truth right now. Like, you embarrassed with me being bald? I don't want to wear no wig. So a lot of people were like trying to push the wigs on me. And I'm like, I want to cuss, but I'm not going to cuss because I'm a sailor. But I was like, I don't want no freaking wig. Just leave me alone. So I just embraced it. I was just like, I put on my earrings, my lip gloss, and my friend, she was a makeup artist. She taught me how to do my eyebrows, and that was that. Like, I just rocked it out. And my mom, I remember one day I was getting ready to go to chemo, and I had on a T-shirt, sweatpants, looking like I was about to clean up. And my mom said, "I know you're not going nowhere looking like that." She said, "Just because you're going through what you're going through, that don't mean you need to look like it." So she checked me. I said, "You know what? Let me go put my clothes on." So I would go to chemo like dress cute, you know, like have my lip gloss, and nobody never really, a lot of people thought that I was just bald, and I was just, you know, just bald because that was my hairstyle. I'm like, no, I'm actually going through chemo. Oh my God, you don't look sick at all. I'm like, well, what does sickness is supposed to look like? But yeah, that's what I did, and that helped. That helped me out a lot. And I tell any woman, you know, dress yourself up, look nice. You don't have to look like what you're going through. And I tell women that the same thing that my mom told me. That's like what I needed to hear. It was so simple, so sweet. She didn't yell at me. Just because you're going through something, that don't mean you got to look like it. She said it so sweet and so gracefully, and it helped. And to this day, I mean, but she's always said that even when we were kids, don't walk out of the house looking any kind of way. And she just reminded me of what she had taught us growing up as kids. And I just followed suit. And me personally, I've always been pretty confident. I will say that not, you know, me losing my breath knocked me off my confidence for a while. But once again, my youngest son, he told me while I was going through it, he was like, "You're just not the same mom anymore." And I was just like, "Son, I'm tired, I'm sick." "Yeah, but you on the couch or you in the bed, you're not talking, you're not laughing." And that right there, I was like, okay, my son telling me you need to get your shit together. Ooh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is grown-up conversation on the grown-up radio station, so that's fine. Get your shit together. Obviously, you heard it. Because you got your shit together.
Yeah. Like, Mama, get it together. And I got it together. I got it together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, when my mother-in-law had cancer of the brain, and my mother-in-law had this beautiful flowing hair, and so did her daughter, my wife. And my wife went home to see her mother when they got the diagnosis, without me, and we didn't have any choice at the time. And we had our oldest daughter. Oops, I remember that. Our oldest daughter was with her, and she was telling me about what was going on her at home and how she was feeling about her mom's situation, and about having to get her haircut. She was so worried how her mom was going to react, how she was going to look. Mm-hmm. I loved her mom because her hair was beautiful. She was long, flowing, beautiful hair, and I wanted to be there when that happened. So I rented a car and I drove all night, sleeping on the side of the road so I can get there. And when I got in the room and they changed her crown, she was beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah.
And she looked beautiful, and I was like, wow, this, because it was just who she was. It wasn't the crown; it was her that made that she was beautiful, and I'll always remember that look. Right.
And you know the funny thing is, before I was diagnosed, I had grown my hair out, and I think my hair was probably down my back, and probably like maybe 6 to 9 months before my diagnosis, I cut my hair. I had cut my hair, and I felt like that God was prepping me for it, because if I had to cut all of my hair off from, growing it down from the middle of my back and just cut it all off, I know that would have probably just been so devastating for me. But I had cut my hair previously before I had gotten the diagnosis, and I think that made it a little bit easier. I feel like that was just God's plan to get me used to it. And now I could care less about hair. I'm not hair. I'm still beautiful with or without hair. And I tell women, I was telling a young lady that today, because she was bald. And I was like, you're beautiful with or without hair. It doesn't matter. The hair does not, it's just hair. It grows back.
That's what I tell my children. I said, I'm bald, but I'm still handsome.
Exactly.
Yeah. I said, I may not be able to, comb it out like you and your sister and your mama, but I'm still a handsome man. So hair, no hair, right? You see the hairline, no, we see the hairline. How you want to look at it? So I mentioned that I go there because I want to get into this conversation about the impact of your journey on your husband. Now, when you started the journey, he was not your husband; he was your ex-husband. I guess at some point during the journey, you got reconnected and he became your husband again. Can you talk a little bit about how your journey, how the treatment and the side effects of the treatment and all the medical prodding and all that, how did that in your mind, and from what you can see, without having spoken to him, just from what you can see, how do you think it impacted him as you guys navigated this journey together?
He probably thought I was crazy as hell. He probably like, man, what I don't got myself into, this lady all over the place, because you have the mood swings. Like, you 1 minute I'll be crying, the next minute you're like, why are you crying? I don't know, man. I'm just emotional. And he's just like, babe, you'll be all right. You know, he'll just give me a hug. My husband is a trooper. Like, he's quiet, but he's a trooper. He's hung in there with me, and I know, I'd be like, man, I don't know how this dude deal with me, because I know I have put him through it. But he stuck with me, and that's why I had to find a way to deal with the side effects, the moodiness, all of that. That's why I was like, okay, I got to change what I eat. I got to drink more water. I got to get more sunshine. I got to pray more. I got to stress less, because when I do that, I'm not a total B to anybody. I'm not a total B to him. So, and I'm just being so transparent right now. And I tell, because the caretakers go through it also. Like, y'all go through it too. So, and he hung in there with me, and I know that there was probably some tough times, but also I wasn't the type that just cry every 5 minutes. Like, a lot of times I would go off to myself, and I will, cry my tears, or I cry in the shower, or I might cry in the car, because I feel like I'm so strong, and I don't want people to feel sorry for me, or I don't want to be a burden, or I don't want him to carry my pain. But when it got too heavy, I'd be like, I'll just melt in his arms, like, even to this day, you give me a hug, I just feel like I could just melt in his arms and everything's going to be all right. So, like I said, I think I got, God gave me a good man. Gave me a great man.
I've seen pictures of the two of you, and he looks like a very happy man.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely loves you. He's like a strong brother. So I feel like you guys were rock solid from just from the outward. And all the pictures I saw, he's definitely close to you. He doesn't give you much space. So I think that says a lot about what you guys are and what you mean to each other. But
right.
So it kind of leads me into a very sensitive portion of the interview. Because when I was part of this group called Breast Cancer Husbands, this subject matter is talked about, not every day, but it's frequent, about intimacy and how challenging it is for intimacy, and how many of the men there had said that no, intimacy, while it was something that was maybe robust before, it wasn't, and it wasn't something that made them feel. It was from most of the information I've read in this particular Facebook group, most of the men whose wives were going through cancer and intimacy was not as frequent, did not seem to be frustrated about that.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about how cancer impacted the intimacy with you and your husband, and if it did, how did you guys address it?
I'll be honest, like, that it was. We weren't even thinking about that at the time. Like, we were just thinking about my life being saved. I don't even think that the conversation really came up. Like, I think he was just in, I want you to be whole again. So it really, I think afterwards, probably after I finished chemo was, that's when we really talked about it. But during, I don't even recall the conversation. Like, it just wasn't even a conversation. It was just because, for one, I had absolutely zero desire. When you're going through, you have no desire. For one, you don't feel, you feel different. Like, both of my breasts are gone. And I look totally different now, and you go through like, I wonder how he feels. But my husband is like, I don't care nothing about those boobs, because even when I got the diagnosis, he was like, what, you gonna have a double mastectomy, right? And I was like, yeah, and I was kind of like, you think that's the right thing to do? He was like, yes, get rid of them. So,
yes.
yeah, he's like, you need to be here. You need to be here. So if these things are causing you harm, you need to get rid of them. So he's like, I don't care about boobs anyway. I'm a butt man.
Like all black men, like just go
Right.
out the middle, like all brothers, right? Yes.
He wasn't tripping like that. He was like, it was always, well, how do you feel? How's that going to make you feel? He was
Absolutely.
always how I feel. Like he put my feelings before he put his feelings first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know your husband. I hopefully maybe can talk to him in the future. But he sounds like a good man, the kind of man I wish I could have spoken to when my wife was going through her journey. But I felt the same way he did. I didn't care. And the funny thing, when I met my wife, I didn't even notice her breasts. I noticed her long, beautiful legs and her beautiful smile. And so that wasn't something. It was concern for her, obviously, because it's aesthetics and she's a woman. But I just wanted her to be there. And it wasn't, just like with Kevin, it wasn't about, I was more concerned with her being laying next to me in the bed and I could put my arms around her than I was more concerned of getting any intimacy. The intimacy to me was I could put my arms around her and she was there. And I'm sure Kevin felt the same way. And obviously you felt that from him, so you feel confident. You say you knelt in his arms because he was there. And that's a good man. So
so if I have a bad day, I'll just go get a hug, and it could be like a 1 minute hug, like, and that's just like that's just my. And he knows if it's gonna be longer than a 20-second hug, he knows that okay, she needs this 60-second hug. Let me let her melt in my arms. So he knows that, like that's just our thing, you know. And I feel like every woman needs to have that anyway. You need to be able to just melt. And even for men, you need to be able to just melt in your spouse's or your significant other arms and just feel safe and feel supported.
Well, Melinda, you are a blessed woman. You got a blessed man, and you guys are a blessed family, a blessed couple. You here. You are here. You have victory. You rung that bell, and you are 10 years into this, and you are still strong and doing great. What advice would you give other women, including their families and friends, who are about to embark on this very emotional journey in battling cancer?
Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the people around you. If people say, how do you feel? And you feeling bad, say, I feel bad, I'm sad. Let people know how you truly feel, because that's one thing that women do. Oh, I'm fine, I'm great. No, you're not. You were just crying. Why are your eyes bloodshot red? You're not fine. I would just say be honest with people. Be honest and find out what your history is, your family history. Like, that family history is important. And unfortunately, my family didn't really want to give much information about, our history. But I would say just be honest. That's the biggest thing. Be honest, walk in your truth, and take care of yourself. If you know you've been eating pig feet and whole malls and fried chicken, leave that mess alone. I'm not saying be vegan. I'm just saying eat the best of the lean meat. I'm saying eat more fruits and vegetables than meat. I'm saying drink more water than liquor and Kool-Aid. Like, there are so many choices that we can make to better ourselves, and we just don't. That's why black women represent 42% of the death rate, because we don't make the right decisions. We don't get more education. We just go along with what the first doctor says, and it ends badly, because the black women do not get the best medical treatment. Let's let that be known. Put that on record. And I'm sure your wife can attest to that. We don't get the best medical treatment. You see how I had to fight to get a biopsy. Had I not fought for myself, I would not be here. And even my oncologist, she was like, I could tell you this now. She was like, but you are one of the ones that are not supposed to be here. You're, just the data shows that, because my cancer was growing so fast. It was from stage 1 to stage 2, and it was growing really, really fast. I remember the doctor calling me on a Friday evening saying, hey, instead of having 6 rounds of chemo, you're going to have 16 rounds of chemo based on your biopsy. And I'm like, okay, so when we getting started? So
did you have any radiation? Did you have any radiation treatment as well?
Say again?
Did you have any radiation treatment?
I didn't have any radiation treatment.
Okay.
All of mine was chemotherapy. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I want to.
Scar that you can see is still there.
Yeah. Well, my wife's scar is still there, and I kiss him because she's there. But I would say, Melinda, I want to thank you because this is a tough conversation to have. It's a tough conversation to go back and to remember and to think about it. Even though I know you have signs that you're going through this battle, you had the scars to prove it, but you got the love and support of 3 men right there by you. So and of course, our Lord and Savior has put His hands in you and brought you forth. So as you are blessed. If people want to follow you, Melinda, if they wanted to hear more about your story and just connect with you and like they've been moved by your story, they want to know more about what you're doing and how you're sharing this information, are you available on social media? Is there a Twitter page, a Facebook page? And lastly, can you give us the website before you do that? Can you give us the website address again of your business for helping kids with shoes?
Absolutely. Well, for one, I'm on Facebook. I have like several Facebook pages, but I'm Melinda English on Facebook. On Instagram, I am all things Melinda. Let me make sure. I am all things Melinda. And I'm on TikTok. TikTok, I let it all hang out. On TikTok, I am, that's probably the best bet to follow me on TikTok. Hold on, let me find my TikTok. It is, I am at all things ME _. So that's all things ME _ the life coach on TikTok.
Well, I tell you what you're going to do, Melinda, because I know people like, I can't get that. So what you're going to do, you're going to send me in the email or on Facebook Messenger, you're going to send me all your social media names and tags, and I will add them to to our website where they will find this web page when they hear this interview. I want people to talk to you and to reach out to you. You are a very valuable source. You are a very open person, and I want to say thank you for sharing and having the courage to share your story. And obviously, you're bold and brazen. You do it, so thank you. Thank your husband for letting you take time away from him to share this story, and your 2 boys who I'm sure probably will have standing guard. So I want to thank your entire family for letting you spend time with me and my audience to share your story. As I said, no problem.
All right. Well, I will send you that information. Thank you so much for having me. And if you want to have me in the future to elaborate on somewhere, because I know we had a few more questions, but I know we only have so much time. And I apologize for being so long.
No. Stop. You don't apologize. You don't apologize when you're sharing this story. And there are some things I was going to send you an email, but since you don't mind just putting yourself out there, I was going to call you back in and say, hey, let's talk about fitness and nutrition, from your perspective, and how do we as people of color, particularly how do Black women who are 42% of the fatalities, according to what your research shows, are from breast cancer, and what can we do holistically to try to fight this? So I want to bring you back for that conversation.
Absolutely.
And we will have it. You're going to send me all your social media contact. People are going to be able to find you. And I got to wrap this up because I got a husband who wants to share his story next. I want to thank everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Robinson. We are produced by Force of the Rain Productions. Their mission is to expand the voices of the seldom heard in education, for housing, parental and family engagement, academic research, the business of education, and civic involvement. My guest was Melinda English, a 10-year survivor of breast cancer, a champion, a beautiful woman, a great wife, a loving mother. I was glad to have her on here. As I say at the end of all my shows, God bless, peace and love.